Hello, all my nursery friends. Welcome back to a new nursery video. For today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different and very special. So a few weeks ago, we celebrated Lent at All Saints Kingsway. Lent is a very special event in our faith, and I wanted to celebrate Lent in a special way that you guys could participate in as well. So there's an old legend back in the day in Italy where a monk made a little treat for some of the children that he had been teaching about the Word of God. And what he made was what is it? It is a pretzel. So what he did was he rolled out some dough and he made the pretzel just like your arms. So he put one arm and crossed it over the other. Back in the day, people used to pray with their arms over their chest and bow their head. So that's exactly how he made his pretzel. And he then gave the special pretzels to the children, and he said a prayer over them while they crossed their arms and bowed their heads. He said, "Holy God, may these pretzel snacks remind us to always turn to you in prayer. Amen." So for our activity today, we're going to be making our very own kid-friendly recipe of some soft prayer pretzels, so we too can always be reminded to turn to God in prayer. So how we're going to do that is in a very special way, and I'm going to tell you all the materials we need first, and then you will follow along with me on how many of those materials and ingredients we'll need at a time. We'll mix it, we'll roll out the dough, we'll make our pretzels, we'll put it in the oven, we'll take it out, we'll put our salt on, and we'll try them, and we'll see how they are. So these are the things that we will be needing for our prayer pretzel. So because it is kid friendly, and I want you to be able to participate as well, and maybe not get a little sticky, is we are going to need a big, large Ziploc bag. You're going to want to make sure it's one that you can seal properly, because we're going to be putting all our ingredients inside, and we're going to be squishing our bag together like how you knead dough, but without getting our hands very dirty and sticky. So we're going to use this. You're going to need some measuring cups. I have a tablespoon, a teaspoon here. We are going to need some quick rise yeast. This is important that it is quick rise. We don't want to be waiting hours and hours for our dough to rise so we can finally have a pretzel. We are also going to be needing some sugar. So this is brown sugar. I don't have any white sugar. Brown sugar should be fine as a substitute. The pretzel will probably just come out a little bit darker. We're going to need some salt. We're going to need an egg at the very end, and then we also have some flour. So this is just regular white flour. To my friends who are gluten intolerant, you can also use some gluten-free flour. It'll work just as fine. So now that we have and know all the things that we need, we're going to get into the recipe and how we're going to make our prayer pretzels. Okay, so for step one, we are going to take our very big Ziploc bag. We're going to open it up. We are going to use our measuring cups, and we are going to take 1 full cup plus another half cup of warm, almost hot water, and we're going to add it into our bag. We don't want it boiling hot or the bag will just melt, but make sure it's pretty warm. And then we're going to add that together with our rapid rise yeast. We're only going to add about 1 teaspoon of that. Okay, so I have my water running, just trying to get really warm. While we wait for that, I'm going to take my yeast and I'm going to open it up. I'm going to put 1 teaspoon on my teaspoon, and then I'm going to put that into our bag. So as you can see, that should be enough. Oh, maybe add a little bit more after that. Okay, we're gonna put this into our bag. I dropped some, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more. Not too much. All right, and my water should be warm by now. So remember, I said we need 1 full cup of our warm water and another half cup. So I'm gonna do my full cup. I have my full cup, and I'm going to add it to my bag. And then I'm going to take my half cup and I'm going to add it to my bag as well. Right, so now that I have my yeast and my water combined, I am going to seal my bag. Try and get all the air out, seal it, and we are going to just squish our bag. We're gonna squish it like you would squish dough or you would squish Play-Doh. We just want the yeast to be fully absorbed in the water. Squish, squish, squish. Okay, so now that we've squished our yeast and water, we're gonna move on to our next ingredients. And our next ingredients are 1 teaspoon of salt. So I'm gonna take my salt, I'm gonna take my teaspoon, I am going to open my Ziploc bag, like so, and I'm going to add my salt. Maybe I'm gonna open it, this might take too long. I'm gonna open, that's better. I'm going to add my teaspoon, of salt. Hannah's just making a big mess today. I'm gonna add my teaspoon of salt into my bag. Let's get a cloth and just deal with that salt later. And then I'm also going to need a tablespoon, a whole tablespoon of our sugar. Again, I'm using brown sugar because I don't have white sugar. If you have white sugar, I would use white sugar. Okay, so we're gonna open this up. We're gonna take my big spoon. We're going to put it in the brown sugar. I don't want too much sugar, to be honest. So just like a light tablespoon. And then we're gonna add that to our mixture. Once your sugar is added, we're going to close our bag again. And then we're going to shake and squish some more so it can get dissolved in the water again. Squish, 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 shake, 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 squish, shake. And now you can see we have, well, because I use brown sugar, yours will probably be more white, but we have like a brown liquidy mixture. Everything has dissolved into our warm water. So this is where our flour comes into play. Again, if you are gluten intolerant, you can totally go for some gluten-free flour, but we are going to use about 4 whole cups of flour. You can kind of play it out. If your mixture is a bit too dry, maybe 3 cups. If your mixture is a bit watery, then 4 cups. But we're going to add 2 of them in at first. We're going to knead it into our bag, and then we're going to add the maybe 1.5, 2 gradually, and then knead it into our bag as well. So I have my flour. I'm just going to do this over the sink. Perfect. I have 1 cup. I'm going to open my bag and I'm going to put it inside. Perfect. And then I'm going to go for cup 2. All right, I have cup 2, and I'm going to place it into the bag, and then we are going to seal our bag up. Try and get the majority of the air out so you're able to knead your mixture. So I've closed it, and now I'm going to knead it. So kneading means just like squishing and folding and mixing together. So as you can see, I'm squishing my bag. I'm squishing it with my hands. I'm just trying to get the flour all in there. And then after I do this for a few minutes, I'm going to add the 1.5 to 2 more cups gradually in, and then we'll see what our mixture looks like after that. Okay, so now that I have put about 4 cups of flour into my Ziploc bag, as you can see some of the dough not sticking to the bag. That's what we want to see. Once it looks like that, we're gonna put the bag aside. We're going to add some flour. We're gonna flour our surface. I'm just doing this on my oven because I don't have anywhere else really to do it. So we're going to spread out a little bit of flour, and we're going to take our dough out. We're going to knead it for about 3 minutes, and then we're going to let it rise for about 10 minutes. So this is what it looks like to me. Now it might get a little bit sticky here, but as long as you have some extra flour on your surface, you should be fine. So I'm taking that out. And I'm gonna get some more out of my bag. This is where it's gonna start to feel like Play-Doh. So I'm adding my flour. Again, if it is still too goopy for your liking, you can add some more flour until we get the right texture. Okay, so now that I have all my dough out, I'm going to knead it for about 3 minutes, adding a little bit more flour. Okay, so once your 3 minutes of kneading is all done, we are going to take our dough ball, we're going to put it in a bowl, and we are going to take a tea towel, cover it up for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to come back and our dough should have risen. Okay friends, so once our prayer pretzel has rested for about 10 minutes, you can remove the tea towel. It should look something like this. It should have doubled a little bit. We're going to, before we take it out, we are going to take a little bit of flour again. We're just going to put it down on our surface. This is just so our pretzel does not stick to our surface. We're going to take our pretzel dough out. We're going to put it on that flour, and we're going to start rolling it into a long snake, just like you would if you had Play-Doh and you're trying to make a Play-Doh snake. You're going to take your palms and you're going to press and you're going to roll our dough snake nice and long until it gets super thin, and then we're going to cut each piece. We are going to fold it into our prayer pretzel, 2 arms together, and then we'll move on to our next step and then bake our pretzel. So we're just going to roll, and I'm going to keep rolling until my dough is nice and teeny tiny. Okay, so here are my pretzels all rolled out, and you can see I've crossed each arm just like our prayers. We're on to one of our last steps. Is we're going to take a bowl, we're going to take an egg, we're going to crack our egg. There we go. And we're going to take our whisk or a fork, and we are going to whisk and beat up our egg until the yolk and the white are all together. Once it is completely whisked together, we are going to take a brush, but you can also use your fingers. I'm going to use a brush. Dip my brush in, it's like a paintbrush, and I am going to lather each pretzel with my egg. We want it to be super wet or it will crack once we cook it in the oven. It will be too dry. Put the egg all around, and we're going to do that to each pretzel. Okay, so I've put egg on each one of my pretzels. Now I'm going to move on to our final step before baking. I'm going to take some salt, and I'm going to put salt all over my pretzels. Now normally you would use like a thicker coarse salt, but I don't have it, so I'm just going to take a little bit of salt and put just a little bit of salt onto each one of my pretzels, not too much. Okay, and once we're done the salting, we're going to just leave our pretzels to rise for another 10 minutes. Once the 10 minutes have passed, we will set our oven to preheat at 425 degrees and then throw our pretzels in. I will see you then. Okay, my friends, so I have completed baking my pretzel prayers. I put it in the oven for 425 degrees for about 15 minutes. And this is how it turned out. It is nice and crispy brown, and when I pull it apart, oh, look at all the steam. That will be really delicious to eat. My friends, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you enjoyed this baking activity. Remember to do our pretzel prayer. Is our right hand on our left shoulder and our left hand on our right shoulder, and we bow our head and pray to the Lord. My friends, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you again next week for a new video. Goodbye.